So we've been talking about the God of the house, the God of the house. And our anchor scripture has been Genesis 28, the verse 18 to 21. Then Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city had been Luz previously. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. So we've spoken about this, that prior to this, Jacob had an encounter. And the first encounter was the encounter with his father Isaac. And that encounter brought him a measure of blessing. And that blessing was not a blessing that was going to change his life, but it was a blessing that was going to bring a shaking to his life. A shaking that will cause him to desire or force him to move forward into higher dimensions of God. And so the first encounter with his father, he was blessed, but it was the first level of the blessing. And then the second encounter that he had was whilst he was fleeing or running away from his brother Esau, that he got to the place called Luz, where he saw the heavens opened and then the angels were ascending and descending. And that's the whole message, but today we don't have time to go into that. The angels were not descending and ascending, but they were ascending and descending. But that is another thing altogether. And so that place, at that encounter, he had an encounter with God, but all he knew was the house of God, because he changed the name of that place from Luz to Bethel. That means that he said this is no other place than the house of God. And we know the things that come along if we live only at the dimensions of the house of God. And then he had a third encounter. This is after he has gone through life, and for 20 years he's been cheated by his own uncle Laban, and now he had to run away, and running away from a cheat, only to return to a murderer, Esau. And so that was a major problem for Jacob. He's running away from the man who has been cheating him to go into the hands of a man who is likely to kill him. And so when you find yourself in this condition, God is only your savior. And so when he met God in his return from Laban going to face Esau, it became a battle. And we said that the only way God could get his attention from unnecessary fight was for God to either hurt him or to allow a certain hurt to come to him. That was how God got his attention. And most of us, the only time we permit God to have his way in our lives is when we have gone through journeys of almost of no return. It's like the man Jonah. It was needless for the people to lose their things in the ship. It was needless for them to throw away hard-earned properties, hard-earned goods into the ocean before Jonah will make up his mind that, yes, I am the one who is at fault and giving for the will of God. It was needless. And so that was the third part that Jacob was meeting with God. But then there is another encounter, and that is the most important. In fact, it is the actual encounter. It is one thing for a man to find God, but it's another thing for God to find a man. It's not the same. It is not the same. It is one thing for a man to find God, but it's another thing. You know, for example, the man Paul, when he was Saul, he was a man who found God. And when he found God, he was actually killing people in the name of God, persecuting Christians in the name of God, because he has found God. But when Christ found him on his way to Damascus, when Christ found him, you realize that there was a change. And that was where Apostle Paul would speak and say that necessity has been placed upon me. Woe is me if I preach not the gospel. When God finds a man, that's why I say that I sought for a man to stand in the gap. When God finds you, you are of a different dimension. And so now, the third encounter, or the real encounter that Jacob had with God, it was not an encounter that Jacob found God, but it was God finding Jacob. And this happened in what I call the Shechem experience, or the tragedy at Shechem. Shechem was a city named after a man. When Jacob has finished dealing with Esau and he needed a place to stay, a certain man saw the daughter of Jacob, Dinah, fell in love, but this was a wrong way of approaching love. He forced himself and raped this young woman. And when the brothers got to know of it, they found a way to revenge their sisters, the person who abused their sister. They found a way to revenge or to avenge whatever happened. And in this case, they ended up killing all the male in the city of Shechem and took the women in slavery. And when Jacob heard this, as to what his children has done, he was not happy about it. And Jacob actually made a certain statement in Genesis chapter 34, the verse 30 to 31. And Jacob said to Simeon and to Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, and I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot? So after the sons of Jacob took that action and killed people because of what they did to their sister, this is what Jacob is saying, that what you have done, it has caused me to smell badly before the inhabitants of the land. And he said that I live among people who are many, more mightier than myself. And what you have done, it will mean that I'm few in number. The people shall gather themselves together against me. And then they will kill me. And then I shall be destroyed. And I and my house. And don't forget that prior to this is a man who has fought with God. And God has said that your name will no more be called Jacob, but Israel. And the reason is that you have fought with man and with God, and you have prevailed. And that's how come he had a name change. Yet, in spite of what God has said to him, when his children acted wrongly, all Jacob could say was that I am few in number, forgetting that God was with him, or God is with him. If God is with you, you are the majority. And he said that these people will kill me. Meanwhile, this is a man that God has said that you have fought with men. You have fought with every man, and you have prevailed. And so Jacob didn't need to have that fear. So it means that when he even had that encounter with God, though he has had an encounter with God, but Jacob didn't really get transformed. And then another point in this is, prior to him leaving home, his father Isaac blessed him. But you see, the blessings, it comes in dimensions. The blessing that Jacob had from Isaac, it was a blessing that will shake him, and it was a blessing that will cause him to run away from his challenges and be safe. But when he was going to face his brother Esau, he needed another blessing where his name will be changed. And so if Esau is looking for a Jacob to kill, no, God has stepped into the issue. Jacob's name has been changed to Israel. And so it's like, as the angel said to the disciples, why are you looking for the living among the dead? You have known Christ in the flesh, but we do not know him like that anymore. And so there was the need for his name to be changed. And so this change that came, the second change that came, where his name was changed, it was for him to face that which he has fled, or that which has been running away from, the Esau, and then to overcome. And grace came upon him. But the third one, the one that he had an encounter with God, which is coming from After the Shechem experience, the man became afraid, though he has met God, but he was still full of fear. And so, whilst this man was worrying as to what the people in the land was going to do to him, to kill him, and to destroy him, it means that the people were really demons. But there is only the devil. That Bible said that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And Jacob was equating this Canaanite and then the Perizzites to that. He said that they will kill me and I'll be destroyed. So that is what Jacob was talking about here. But the chapter 35 of Genesis 1, then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother." Let's pay particular attention to this one. So you realize that in this moment, it wasn't Jacob who was looking for God. He was not asking of God. He was there troubling his head. It was God who now comes to Jacob unprovoked. And then he said to him, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there." And this is the mystery in this text. "And make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother." And so it appears that God is speaking to Jacob about God. So God is not saying that, "Get up," or "Arise, go to Bethel and go and make an altar for me." But he said that, "Go to Bethel and go and make an altar to God who appeared to you." And so God is speaking as if he's not the one who met Jacob in Bethel. And the other point is that when Jacob first met God at Bethel, Jacob raised a pillar and poured oil there, and that pillar was an altar. And then he poured oil there, and then he made his request. But this time, it is God who has come to Jacob and has said that, "Go to Bethel, and when you go there, raise an altar to God who appeared to you when you were running away from your brother Esau." And so this time, it is God commanding Jacob to raise an altar. And in your lifetime, there will be an altar that you will raise in the honor of God, and that is fine. But there is another altar that God will come and demand from you. In your walk with God, there are things you would want to do for God that will be called free will offering, free will sacrifice. But there are things that God will come and demand from you. And until you come to the point where God have the courage and the confidence to demand things of you, you have not experienced a dimension of God. It is one thing for God to tell Abraham, "Depart from your father's house." But it's another thing for God to come and say, "Now sacrifice your only son." And so in your life, ask yourself, what is it that God has ever demanded from you? Or is it that as for you, anything you do for God, it is something that you want to do, but apart from that, God is not able to tell you what he wants from you? He said, "This time, go back to Bethel and raise an altar to God who appeared to you." And this is the point also. What God is saying is that it's as if there is one God here, and he's talking to Jacob about another God somewhere, though the same God. He said that, "Arise, go up to Bethel, raise an altar to God who appeared to you when you were running away." It means that me, this God who is talking to you, I'm not the one who appeared to you when you were running away from your brother. And yet, it's not a different God, same God. What is happening here is this. There are dimensions in God. The dimension of God that Jacob experienced when he encountered God at Bethel is a different dimension that he's going to encounter when he goes back to Bethel, yet the same God. In the encounter at Bethel, Jacob did what he wanted to do for God. He made demands that will feed his own ego or fulfill his own life. But in this second encounter and this dimension, it is God who is going to dictate to him. Like Jesus said to Peter, that when you were young, You went to where you wanted to. You spoke where you want, what you want. By the time it's going to come, that one will have to lead you and take you to places that you may not want to go. And that is what is meant to be led by the Spirit of God. He said that now you are son when you are led by the Spirit of God. And so now God comes to Jacob and said that now this is what I want you to do. Go to Bethel and sacrifice to the God who met you. So there are different dimensions with God. You cannot live as much as the text that said that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It is for your beginning, though you can never be above it, but it is for your beginning. Bible said that strong meat belongs to the matured. When Jesus was with the disciples, he said that there are things I want to tell you, but you are not ready yet. He said, Apostle Paul said that when I came to you, I could not speak to you as matured, but as babies. There are things God wants to show you. Apostle Paul will speak and say that I know a man who 14 years ago, whether in the spirit or in the flesh, I do not know, who was carried into the third heavens and said, I saw things that is not permitted for human mouth to say. There's dimensions in God. The book of Revelation said that come up higher and I will show you things that are yet to come. He said, call on me. I will answer you and I will show you things that you do not know. There are levels and dimensions in this God who is the Alpha Omega that we need to press on. We need to be deliberate about going after God. So far, we have spent time to swim at the sand of the sea, but the sea is there. At times, you will enter into like the Ezekiel experience. You enter into the river. It is at the knee level. As you continue, come to the sea level. As you to the waist level. As you continue, it comes to the neck level. And then as you continue, it becomes a river that you must swim in. There is a glory for you. The Bible said that no eye have seen, nor ear heard, neither has it entered into the heart of men the things that God has prepared for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And he said that these things are revealed to us by the Spirit. For the Spirit searches all things, yes, the deep things of God. And so there are things waiting for you. The current poverty of your life, if only you would dive deep into God, you realize that just right behind this poverty, there is prosperity. This sickness that is threatening to kill you, if you would dive deep into God, you realize that by his stripes you were healed. It is needless for us to go through most of the things we go through, if only the things we go through is meant to pursue God until we are found by him. Search for God and he will find you. And when he finds you, he will show you things that you have never known. I pray that our walk with God will not be just at the surface level, but we go deep and deep until we come into the mysteries of God. God bless you until we meet again.